Hello, Tom. Are you assisting us? Go figure. A kitty is rubbing all over my stuff. I never would expect a cat to be present on my desk. That's ridiculous. Ha 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 ha. Why is this not centered right? I feel like I just fixed this. I guess not. Oh well. Tom Bombadil, sweetheart, you've got to say good morning. You have fans. You have fans. Did you know that, sweetie? I think you have more fans than I do. Let's open your OnlyFans already. Show off that tummy, huh? Hey, sweetness. Good morning, Robinsk. Robinsk. Tom would say good morning, but he's literally incapable of anything but screaming. So, you know, we all do what we can. We all do what we can. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, good morning, folks. It's Monday, the 12th. I'm sure that means more than I realize. Let's go check my schedule. What am I supposed to be doing today? Today, the partner project update focus. Ooh. I need to update the Oracle Dice project to let people be reminded about what they need to get in here and buy before it's too late. And, of course, I have to hang out on here today for the morning and the evening. Good morning, Curse. Good morning, Entrance Glamour. Welcome to Hangout Times. Suppose I should take these off, or they just reflect the screen, back at the screen, which isn't great. We do have an important guest star today. It is Tom Bombadil, everyone. I know that everyone's been waiting for him to come back. Every second of every day. He's the most important part of the stream. I really do need to get a third camera and have it like set up right over here, just facing him. I know my audience. All right, Tom, what do you think? Should we do a little reading today? You want to do any dice readings? You gonna whap a die around? Oh, he's looking at it. He's thinking about it. What do you think, baby? He's just staring at it intently. And let's see. I think we should start the day off with a nice, sweet, pleasant starting reading with some seasons dice, right? How are things aligned today? Oh, Tom's settling in for the readings. Yeah, you're gonna eat that? That says self-reflection, Tom. Maybe you should do some self-reflection and stop eating dice, huh? That might be good for you. Looks like some things are ending and new things are beginning. It looks like materially new things are coming. In the body, we're going to be experiencing a little excess, maybe doing a little extra work here today. But I'm going to read this as Ding Dong, the tariffs are dead. Because if you have not yet heard, Donald Trump, in his infinite wisdom, is rolling back his insane tariffs. They're going from, what, I think 145% on China down to 30, which, you know, I would still personally like it if the tariffs went away, but yeah, what are you going to do? But with them going down, I do wonder if advertising and marketing and word of mouth is going to go further now that people think that things might be a little more affordable. There's a little less concern financially. And I do see, reflection over here. Maybe it's time for people to reflect a little bit on what. Okay, stop eating it. To reflect on what they do and do not want. Tom, which of these dice is your favorite? Here, you can have all 4 laid out in front of you. Which are you going to try to eat? He's going to try to eat the spring die. And the winter. Equal opportunity chomper. Oh, Tom. So yeah, good news for us. This really is good news to start the day. It is. Everyone and their mom was like messaging me to be like, Did you see the tariffs? Yay, congrats. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's good. Because if we went to finish this project or the Misery Tarot or any of those things, and it was just like, yeah, it's still 145% tariffs, I'd be like, well, that is more than doubling my costs, and I cannot do that. Tom. What do you think, kitten? What does that one say? I can't read it over your face. Injustice. Routine. Wood. Okay, you rolled that. You've got... I don't trust that. He's fully just putting dice into his mouth. It's cute when he just puts his teeth on them, but he like hucked it into his mouth, and I was like, don't try to swallow that, you'll die. That would be an immediate vet visit. We don't have time for that, kitten. We don't have money for that. You've got to go shake your cans on the internet and bring in $1 million more for the Oracle dice. Then we can do that. Alrighty, my friends. What do we got? Let's do... This is the Hot Housewives Tarot. Of course, it's just a blank deck of cards that I wrote card names on, but let's see what we've got. We have the game show. We have the 9 of baseball. We have the 11 of future and the 10 of future. Lots of reverses, though. Random dice. Go. Don't eat it. Leave it alone. So we had the game show over here. This is like the wheel. We have fear of ourselves. We have the stray and home. Someone needs a reading today. There's traveling to create new spaces for yourself, to get really close to others. There's lost history at the core here with obsession. It looks like maybe there's a journey being undertaken to try to regain lost history. But this obsession is definitely putting you in a position where this is all you're doing. And this isn't super good. Fear of ourselves here with the stray and the home is another very ungainly pyramid shape right over the wheel, basically, which is warning me that the concept of home is really holding up a lot. It's kind of keeping us from this fear of ourselves. Maybe we're chasing after other people to not face up to the things that we're dealing with. The stray here is definitely something that's telling me that there's like a feeling of loneliness or loss, like you don't belong anywhere. You're in the home, but you don't feel like that's actually yours or that you should be there necessarily. That with the wheel underneath is telling me that all this is really temporary and super shifting. I do see lavender down here. Tell me that there is a space for calm and patience, and maybe like waiting out the wheel as things change in unexpected ways would be really good. We do have escapism in reverse over here. It's telling me that we're very, very lost in this space of chasing a new found family style home that will replace the one that made us feel separated and lonely from others. We also have integration here, but also in reverse with wood under the boat. If I were to read this as a triangle, as this die supporting these two dice, and this is at the bottom of it, there's a very, very unsteady construction that you've built for yourself. You're definitely maybe experiencing difficulties integrating and becoming part of the world. We also have the blade down here near wheel, which tells me that maybe the shocking obsession and pain that you're undergoing to take part in everything is wowing people. I would read that as you're really stepping out of your comfort zone and rushing forward to try to take part in the world. But that does leave you in an awkward position. Over here, we have the cocoon with the future in reverse. This is usually a problem. It means that you are resting very internally, like your heart is at rest. You're not ready to face the world. But the problem is the future card is already a card that's talking about you kind of being left behind by the marching of time. And my worry is that in reverse, it's way worse. If you are a person who is Tom, if you're a person who feels left behind by the marching of time, but time is really, really leaving you now, because in reverse, it's like you can't even catch up. You've completely disintegrated, as in non-integrated, into the future and where things are moving. And if you're doing so, and you're letting it all go, and you're just being in your cocoon pretending that things aren't changing, you're completely left behind already. And this is in spirit, which is how you feel. It looks like the new found family space that you're forcing for yourself is something that you're not actually taking part in your heart, but you're doing all the motions to take part. And to other people, it looks like you're giving up a lot of things to be there with them, but you're really not. In your heart, you haven't actually let go of where you were before at all. And that's a problem, because it's already too late in many ways for you to change how you feel about it. This would be one of those readings where I'd be like, you have to take a huge step back from the things you're taking part in and realize that what your heart is not in can't be your focus. You can't put yourself on the line for something that's not real for you, especially if other people are starting to think that you really have changed in some massive way to take part in their lives. It's not very fair to them to pretend. Well, Tom Bombadil, was that about you? Do you have a really, really deep inner pain you have to work through? And is it because you ate a die? Oh, he's such a little cutie. Well, my friends, do we have any reading requests for this morning? I am always happy to take on reading questions from people. And you don't have to wait for me to ask either. Once I start this stream, you can just start asking questions. I am prepared. Otherwise, I just start doing random readings for no one and wondering who it's for. Also, I'm seeing, which is exciting, that for Tarotopia, there's 13 projects on Tarotopia. Let me see if I can campaign page scroll. Yeah. There's 13 projects, and I'm seeing today that 11 of us are funded, which is great because as of, I think just yesterday, we were still just at 10. And I'm wondering who's not funded. Who do we have to shout out? Oh, yeah. The Flight of the Butterfly Tarot deck is another one of the Tarotopia projects. They are $1,500 away from their goal. I think they'll definitely hit it before we finish. If nothing else, even if it's like dead until the last 2 days, the last 48 hours, there's always a bunch of people who join in. It looks like I hadn't placed my pledge yet. So we'll do that soon. But yeah, the Flight of the Butterfly Tarot is super pretty. I mean, just take a look at this. The art's really lovely. We've got some photo collage, some painted backgrounds maybe. Just such a lovely set. And they're kind of pips, but they're not because they're so busy and pretty. Like, this is a really great deck. I'm surprised, super duper surprised that this hasn't funded yet. So hop on over, folks. Take a look. We definitely need to help them get there. The other deck that is not yet funded on Tarotopia is the Moon Care Oracle deck. That's from Soul Care Astrology. Looks like about $1,700 short, and I think that we can get there. Oh yeah, this can definitely get pushed before the end. I'm trying really hard to invite people to the stream tomorrow so that we can just chat about it. I think that'd be really delightful. Well, I hope for their sakes that they make it here soon because it's pretty cool to be funded. All right. Also, we broke 100K over the weekend. It was literally yesterday, so that's super cool. Curse, of course, just ask a question. Let me know what you want. I'm happy to do a reading for you. If I'm in the pledge levels, can I see the secret hidden ones that no one else can see? No, I have to go into the back end. Ooh, early bird goblin's chest of dice. There's one remaining. Someone backed out of that. If you want that for cheap, go grab that before it disappears. What a fun time. I should update my spreadsheet too now that we've got all this stuff going on. Alrighty. Let me go back to this page. There we go. Now we're back to the normal page where we have Tom Bombadil, the most important part of any stream. We have the reading mat where I'm always happy to do readings for people. In fact, let's pop that up a little further. Yeah, let's take a look. What? How does this thing get screwed up every single time that I swap in and out of things? How annoying. Another path reading with a focus on spirituality. Yeah, let's give it a go. All right, Tom, get off the time. I need to flip this. Oh, kitten. You can't sit on this. You can sit right there and look at it. You can't sit on the mat, bud. All right. Well, let's do a key keepers reading, right? Tom, what do you think? Keys? Huh? And seasons? Huh? How about that? Oh, you want to leave? Okay, you can leave. You gonna go? He's not sure he wants to leave now. It's so hard to be a cat. It's hard to know what you do and do not want. Hi, Thea. Welcome. All right, Curse. Let's take a look. Hello, Kimber. Well, Thea and Kimber, welcome. The good news today is that the tariffs on China are being dropped from 145% to 30%. And hopefully in the near future, that gets worked through because that's still kind of dumb. And hopefully we have none percent tariffs one of these days. So, in the core, I see disrepair. I see the reaching octopus. I see passing. I also see the pathfinder. This is an interesting set of faces here, none of them are leaning towards past or present. We're kind of in future and faded territory. So I'm going to cover these when we get to them. In the past, I see the dark owl. Tells me that maybe you were under watch by people who knew and understood things much more than you. People who were not maybe always telling you what you needed to know, but who had that information. You were kind of left to wonder and watched. In wound, here I see poison. You accumulated over time into just the recent past here this gathering poisons when you can't let go of the small things that aren't going correct. That bridges right into present with Mal's die, with yearning and self-reflection. In the present, I'm seeing definitely a need to spend a lot of shadow work space to remove the poison that is kind of built up in you over time. I think some of that is like a lack of sharing and understanding that was given to you in the past. This led to you being in a space where you really yearned for a deeper spiritual connection. And as part of that, you have been now basically cleansing and undressing yourself of all of these wounds that you have allowed to gather. And I do say allowed to gather because the poison face on wound is usually about us holding all of these things, right? Holding these slights, holding these wrongs, holding these difficult situations, and being unwilling to let go or grow or change past them. And then we get to the future. This is very near future here. I see the strong horse here with the Pathfinder and core and the Queen of the Night. You're going to have very, very quick, rapid opportunities that are upcoming for you to reconnect in a much bigger way than you have been able to lately. Because you've kind of been in this space of trying to peel out the things that haven't worked and the things that have stuck around only to hurt, right? Once you get here, there's a lot of labor to do. That's very, very much still the case, because this is like divesting yourself of the pain and the poison, but that doesn't connect you or continue you on your spiritual journey. This is the labor up ahead where you're going to make the much stronger strides to reconnect yourself. Pathfinder is telling me that you're going to no longer be in a space where like knowledge and wisdom is maybe kept from you. You're going to be in the space where you have active steps forward and places to go and information to work from. So that's very, very good. You're not left alone. You're not trying to figure it out on your own. But it is very, very transient. Like the opening spaces that you get to try to work towards this again are very, very short-lived. They're beautiful, they're open, and as long as you take them, it'll be worthwhile, but it's worth warning. Over here, I have the fist out in the inevitable. It's kind of inevitable that you will always be fighting. There's always going to be a push on your end, a push and a pull, a bit of a struggle. And that's tied to without. Like, it's telling me that there's something about things beyond you that are always going to require you to fight for them. As far as spiritual journeys go, I would really think that like the things beyond yourself really maybe expect you to earn your space, expect you to show what you have to give, not necessarily because you aren't worthy, but because maybe it's a really important thing for you to prove to yourself. And I say that because over here in Faded, and kind of out of future, we have Passing, The Reaching Octopus, and Disrepair. And they're all giving me the general feeling that you have often felt like you are either broken or left behind, because you haven't always felt like people have been there to like maybe take your hand through what you're facing. And as a result, you always feel like things are moving away from you and maybe things are leaving you. But the Reaching Octopus here, leaning into Faded, is telling me like in the same way that we had the strong horse and we have the fist out here, you're always going to be a person who's reaching to grab the pieces and keep them together. Um, and that's like the important part of the tenacity of yourself that's going to always support you on your journey spiritually. So I would say, um, remember that it's always worth putting the effort forth for the things that you really want. If your spiritual journey is really sacred to you, um, it looks like one of the common expectations is that you're there for it and that you push for it and that you work for it. Um, and I don't see anything here that suggests that like this something is stretching you thin. It's part of an ongoing process of feeling like you are put together again and like you function and like you are real and alive and thriving, and all of that comes from the space of always pushing forward. Because it looks to me like when a lot of nothing happens, you just build up like this poison, this resentment, this frustration and pain. And that's something that you now have been learning to unlearn and remove. And I think when you get rid of a lot of that, it will always allow you to have that space and that strength to push forward. I hope that that's helpful and doesn't sound terrible and tragic. I'm reading it as like a fairly positive thing. Kelly Poplar, I'd like to know what type of stone the stone sets are made out of. They're made of all kinds of different stones. I do have a list of the season set stone choices that I'll share on the campaign page. Maybe I'll just go update the add-ons and pledge levels to note what they are. And I did make my selections for what the stones will be in the new set. Just the clue by 4 dice striking again. We like dice. We like dice in this household. Let's see. Can I just tell you what some of the dice stuff is? Yeah. So in the Keykeeper set, we have for the Housewives dice, which are the 5 dice that originally came with the Hot Housewives deck. I'm either going with Aventurine Jade or there's a new option that I got shown by the manufacturer that's just labeled green, but it is this really lovely green semi-transparent stone. And I'm super in love with that. For the Black Lantern dice, I'm either going with Ironstone or African Bloodstone. I really do want to go with African Bloodstone. I think it looks a little better. The Fantasy die is going to be Natural Indian Agate. The Resource die is going to be Synthetic Wood Grain. The Movement die is a Gold Glitter Stone. That's definitely, I'm believing, it's synthetic. The Standard D6, which is just this guy, is going to be Natural White Jade, which I think will look really great for it. Mal's die will be Natural Flashlight Stone. I have no idea what it's actually. That's their translation from China. Wounds die will be Natural Hematite. Tell's die will be Natural Yellow. It says Jade. Weir's die will be Natural Amethyst. Fuel will be Lazurite. Sin will be Natural Cardinal Stone. And Fell's die will be Synthetic Opal. Let's see. I have another thing open. Yeah. Can I swap to this real fast and just try to show you? Yeah, this. Kelly, this is from the second edition's updates. The action die is Natural Light Amethyst. The alchemy die is Natural Amethyst. The autumn die is Natural Tiger Eye Color. I'm assuming that that's probably a synthetic stone. Again, this is from Chinese manufacturers, translated to English. Some of the proper names are getting lost. The Air of Earth Elements die is natural flower green. No concept what the stone actually is there. I think that they told me it was grain stone at one point. Natural wood grain here is the fate die. We have natural obsidian, which is the major's die. The mariner's die is natural lazurite. We have the synthetic wood grain with purple ink for the metamorphosis die. The obstacles die is natural redstone. It's just a really nice looking redstone. The relations die is white jade. The spring die is natural Indian agate. Suits die is natural cardinal stone. Summer die is natural yellow jade. The winter die is natural snowstone. Just has this snow patterning inside. And then the dice that were new in the second edition, the wounds die is going to be colored fluorite. Natural opal for the kindness die, natural flashlight stone for the attentions die, aventurine jade for the longings die, natural hematite for the goblins die, natural picture jasper for the alley die, and for the influences die, it's finchstone. Now, there's definitely overlap between them, between the two sets, but they will have different ink colors on them, which will be great. So they should still be like, you should still be able to tell them apart. Unfortunately, there's just definitely some overlap between the sets. It was inevitable that was going to happen because there's a limited number of stones that I could make use of from the manufacturers. And there's 22 different dice per set. I will say that for the new Keykeeper set, the stone, I do get to cheat a little bit, right? Because who knows? What am I saying? Because the Housewives dice, the 5 of those will all be the same color or the same type of stone and then different colors of ink. And then the same thing with the Black Lantern dice. So I do get to reduce the stone selections by 8 for the Keykeeper set, which is helpful. And that's why I'm really excited to go with new stone options for those so that those really stand out. But yeah. I hope that helped a little bit, Kelly. That's kind of what I'm leaning on here for my different options. But yeah, if you want stone dice sets, go grab them. I know they're expensive, and I'm sorry, they're quite expensive. Peas Blossom, I have sent out 2 updates on the second edition campaign that explain exactly what you need to grab. But also, if you're on the campaign page itself, you can see I have a section just to talk about this called Updates, Returning Diviners. And it's just like, hey, welcome back if you have backed before. And it explains right here. If you had the second edition dice set, they're now called the season set. The season set is exactly what you already have. The only things that you might want to update are any of these things. You could pay $15 for an add-on to grab the updated Seasons Guidebook. The dice themselves, they are not changing at all. And the dice meanings in the guidebook are generally not going to change. I'm going to reread and see if there's anything I do want to adjust a little bit. But generally speaking, I'm not changing the dice entries. I'm going to change everything else in the guidebook. The thing that you'd get with the guidebook that you might want is the cheat sheet cards, which are like these, and they have like the meanings of the cards on them, and they're color matched, so that would make it easier to learn if you are struggling to learn the old dice. You could pay $5 if you wanted to get an empty Seasons dice box. That would just give you a place to put your set that you currently already have, and you could just slide it onto a bookcase, for example. People are just asking for a way to store their previous dice set, and I was like, well, this is a $5 option. And if you don't want an updated guidebook, but you do want the cheat sheet cards, you can pay $7 to just get the cheat sheet cards. So if you want to just update your previous set, these are the options to update your previous set. And they are all add-ons. You'd pay $1 in the pledge tiers to get to the add-ons, and then you just grab any of these things you want. If you get the Seasons Guidebook and the box, that's all you need because the cheat sheet cards are included with the guidebook. Or if you don't want any of that and you just want the cheat sheet cards, you can just spend the $7 to get those. Okay, so that's how you update your previous set. Then, as long as you haven't gotten anything that'll have additional dice, you can just get the Keykeeper set, and that'll be entirely new additional stuff for you. It'll be a second cloth, it'll be 22 additional dice, it'll be a whole new guidebook. Yeah, the Keykeepers will just be a whole new deal for you. So that's it. I promise, it's not complicated. It's actually quite simple. I try to make it as simple as possible. To just be like, okay, just get exactly what you need. Now, if you already have dice from the Alleyway Oracles, these 3 dice, or you backed the Blood and Rust Misery Tarot or the Hot Housewives Tarot for their deluxe editions, you will be getting dice that are part of the Keykeeper set. That's when you might need to get nitty gritty with getting specific things from the update add-ons for the Keykeepers. Basically, if you don't have any of these right here, or you're not getting the deluxe editions, the Black Lantern, or the Misery Tarot or the Hot Housewives, you don't need to worry about this section at all. You can just buy a full Keykeeper set. I hope that helps, Peas Blossom. I have done my best to make it as clear as possible, but that doesn't mean that it isn't also still a little confusing. All right. Does anyone have questions for the dice? I'm hankering. We love doing dice readings, but I'm also here to answer any questions. So if anyone has any other thoughts or things that you want to have pointed out, things explained about the campaign page, I'm super happy to do so. The Fantastic Beast. I'm interested in using these for writing fiction. Which specific dice would you suggest for creating a character? Actually, there are multiple things that I would think about for how I would approach making a character with dice, right? Let's do some. First of all, you could use either of the 2 grids that are with the season set. I don't have the Keykeepers grids to show off here or read on, so I can't necessarily talk about those right here, but I would use either of these. If you used the past, present, future grid, you could roll a reading on here to see their history, and then in the present what they're working on, and in the future what their goals are, right? That would be one way to do it. And then of course, if you're on this side of the mat and you're making a character for writing or role playing or whatever you're doing, reading on here would also be perfect for making a character, because anything that lands in the mind or spring is kind of what they think, what their logic is about the world. And body would be what actions they're taking to affect the world to try to maybe make the things that they are thinking about happen. And material is how the world has affected them, and this could really build into their backstory. And spirit is how they feel about everything else that's here, which would give you an idea of, like, if they're really happy with it, this is kind of the trajectory they want to be on. If they're unhappy with it, it could tell you a lot about maybe what they want to change, or you'd realize, like, okay, they're not very fulfilled and like people are being crappy to them, so they're really trying to work to ingratiate themselves to other people. As far as what dice I would read with, I would read with probably any, to be honest. Especially for making a character, it almost makes me want to like bust out the massive reading, right, and just like do a full dice set, which maybe is just way too much. But if you're looking just for specific dice, like, let's pull out the season set here and take a look, and we'll kind of break out dice into groupings on like what I feel they could give you for writing a character, right? Uh, you were saying the wounds die, and I get that. The wounds die is good. It would give you idea on like how they maybe are hurt or have been hurt, and that can really build a lot of character. The longings die. This one's really really clear to me because this is like what does the person want, and depending on where it lands, it could mean super different things. So if you get the longings die in mind, it's what they're thinking about that they want. If you get the longings die in body, right, it's like what they're working towards, trying to fulfill in some way. If you get longings in material, it's maybe what other people want from your character. And if you get longings in spirit, it's like what they really want in their heart, but they're not doing anything necessarily to get it, maybe. So I think longings and wounds would both be really great. Um, Obstacles, of course. What thing is holding this character up? Because that will explain to you like a lot of what their narrative is. If I Okay, it's in mind. I got peace. This is someone who struggles with peace. When things become quiet and there's no longer a conflict and there's nothing to be done, this character struggles because there's nothing available for them. From that, you could really quickly infer there's a person who's used to either conflict, either because they grew up in like a really stressful, difficult home, or maybe they were part of a war and they were really good at it. But now that there's no war, they don't know what to do. If you got peace over embody, this would mean they used to be very active, but now things have settled and they're maybe no longer needed. And so their work has slowed to a stop. And that makes them feel restless because they have nothing to do. They don't feel useful anymore. In material, peace would suggest that maybe no one needs anything of you, and that would be a conflict. In spirit, peace would definitely suggest like this is a person with troubled emotions, and things slowing down and being happy and comfortable, something they're not used to experiencing. And each of those things gives you a bit of an idea of a different kind of character. So I think those would be huge. Actions die would be really great. Seeing where this ends up could really tell you stuff about what things they either are doing or need to be doing. Attentions die could be really good. If it landed somewhere, it would tell you how much they want other people to know things that either they're thinking, doing, having done to them, or feeling. So I think that's like a really good start for dice. You could, of course, always do the seasons. I think that if you're really familiar with tarot and you're used to maybe flipping a tarot reading over to do a character, adding the tarot die, the suits die here would be really great because wherever it lands, whatever suit comes up is going to tell you a lot, if you're familiar with tarot, about what suit kind of dominates that part of their life. Yeah, so these would super duper work for fiction, the same way that you could accomplish with tarot or an oracle deck. So like if I just take these 6 dice that I just said, I'll just do a reading real quick and we'll talk about a character that comes out of it. Kelly Poplar, will there be more releases of Seasons dice set after, or is this the last run of them? The Seasons dice will be considered complete at the end of this project, and that doesn't mean that I won't ever manufacture it again. It just means that if I manufacture it again, it won't change again. It'll just be like this. That said, there's a lot less money on this project than I had originally planned around. So there will be a very limited printing of both dice sets probably for this project. So everyone who backed, of course, will get one. But I don't think we'll actually be able to put money down on a lot of extra. Um, so I would say that if you want dice here, now is your time to get them. And if you have friends or family or whoever who are thinking about the dice, I would hugely say tell them to back now because I'm not going to have very many extra. The money's just not there for it. The second edition dice set on BackerKit did $230,000 with like 3,500 backers, and we only have like 667 backers here. The price point is higher, so we've still broken 100,000, which is awesome. But I was imagining that we'd probably break over 200K, even if we had half the backers. I didn't expect to have this many fewer backers. So Yeah, there will be dice sets for everyone who backs, but there won't be a ton extra. So definitely suggest to people who are holding off that they gotta back if they want this. Hi, B&W. Welcome. So I'm doing a 6 die reading on semi-request from Fantastic Beast about what the Oracle dice look like when you roll to make a character, either for writing or role playing. So let's take a look. Ooh, this is a very linear spread over here. So nothing in the core. So we'll just start in mine and spring. I see a longing here for like identity and a mask, basically a longing to maybe not be seen, a longing to be hidden, to take on a persona. This is probably a person who maybe has a very difficult past for any number of reasons, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're wanted, but maybe they just don't like who they were when they faced the hardships of their past. I can zoom on the reading. There we go. And so, really easy thing that you could say here is that this is like a very performative person, a person who puts on a whole second self to interact with the world. Over here, we have literally just got my wisdom teeth out. Good for you, B&W. I hope that it's going well and that it doesn't hurt too much and that you have lots of drugs. We do have ruin over here, which tells me that there was a massive shift, right? This is basically the tower in tarot. So there was a massive shift in their thinking. I would say that maybe their entire life, flipped around, and what they used to believe they no longer do. There's a person who maybe was told a really surprising revelation. That point in a story when a character is told by the wise old person, like, oh, you've been doing all this for your father? Don't you know your father's who did the bad thing to you in the first place? And you're like, oh, no. And it changes everything. Way out here, we have the candle in spring, which is telling me that overall, the thing that's happening with them is a very personal journey. So this is probably a person who doesn't share a lot of the truth, which is why they've got the whole mask thing going on. They're the semi-quiet character who is present and still takes part in the story, but you always feel like something's going on with them and you don't quite know. This would be a character that later in the story you have some kind of revelation about, and they finally mask off, and you're like, holy cow, like you're you're Darth Vader, you're my father, something like that. Body is empty, which tells me that the primary interest of this character is not what they do in the story. It definitely looks like it's tied to maybe some of their backstory, and that will be important. In material, we do have transformation from the actions die, which is leaning towards wheel. That's just telling me that maybe other people outside of them get transformed. If this is not the main character, for example, the main character could really be transformed by this person at some point in the story when they go mask off and reveal some of the stuff that's happened in their past. Otherwise, until that point, they're very, very quiet. They don't share a lot. In spirit, we have both the sword and the wound. So you could read swords, of course, very much like it's about logic and mental process. In that case, it still really works with wound because the mind here is full of like problems and minefields. So it would not be very surprising if what they've been feeling and thinking and their logic leads to wounds in their heart. Them trying to come to terms with what they have found out about, whatever it may be, whether it's a relationship with a father, a relationship with another person, whether it's just their worldview changed when they realized that maybe the political beliefs that they had have been wrong all along, and that is leading to this like deep wound on their heart. In any case, this is like a very emotionally turmoiled character who physically does very little into the world, but whose revelations, once shared, affect a big change in other people. So this is just like one way you could start to think about it. And obviously, if you're approaching this with a setting, right, maybe even character ideas, but you want to have a better understanding of them, you read this for a character that you already knew was going to be, the friend to the main character and kind of a supporter throughout. But it turns out like the friend status is a little bit of a mask, and there's a bigger revelation to share there. But yeah, Oracle dice you can definitely use for helping create characters, give characters a little more depth, and understand them a little more. Um, I will say, as a 6 die reading, that felt a little slim, so I would definitely add more dice. I said originally that you could definitely have just added the seasons, and that would have gotten that into a really good space, I think. Um, but I also was saying that if you were trying to build a character like from scratch, it could be really fun to just do a full 22 die reading, which I don't do because it's a lot of dice. But yeah, there's no reason that you can't, right? And the Keykeeper set would obviously work very well as well. The 7 keys dice themselves are already like a really good full reading on their own, and they cover a gamut of topics that would relate to building out a character. Um, you could do a full 22 dice reading with that set as well if you were so moved. But yeah, thanks. That was a fun idea. I feel like some of the fun ways that I like showing how the dice work in these is just like trying out a really random question. The other day, last Friday morning, I guess, someone asked about like, is it better to be a werewolf or a vampire? Um, Someone jokingly said, "What is time?" and I did a reading about it, and it was actually really lovely and poetic. So the weird questions are also really delightful. Stretch our muscles, see what we can connect and how they work out together. Yeah, so if anyone else has any thoughts or questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I might just do a 22 die reading just to see how a character might unfold from that. Because there's a whole lot of dice. Oops, I just shot a die out because there's so many. I will say you will have to have hands at least as big as mine to roll all 22 dice. Let's try to make this quick because now we actually have a real question from someone. Number one, I'm looking at the chaos die because it could do something here and change things. I do see entropy, which is telling me that the dice around it here are maybe fading in some way. In the core, we have the lantern next to the ocean, next to entropy. So the lantern on the attentions die right here usually is talking about how much attention you want something to have. The lantern tells me this is a character who keeps things pretty close to the chest but shares it with a select few. This is a person who probably doesn't have a ton of friends, but the ones they have are very, very close. And as the core, I'm really seeing it as like someone who is willing to share like everything, but only with certain people. Right next to ocean, though, tells me that there is a deep well of things that could be shared here. But the entropy is suggesting that maybe like this is a light bearer in a difficult space, someone who's trying to share things with very close people, but what is there might be deteriorating. Because this is in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a character who is experiencing some kind of memory loss. This is someone who really needs to get information to people, but the depths of the ocean are becoming more and more unknowable for them. And unfortunately, the depths of the ocean is their own mind. So already I'm getting quite a story right here with just 3 dice. In mind, we have the memento or the cameo here with community. This really emboldens that. This person believes that maybe knowledge is really, really important for community because we're in mind. But the cameo is telling me that some of these things are like past, right? This is probably a very old person who's trying to impart wisdom and knowledge to the greater community because it'll be really important to know. History repeats itself after all. But these are old things that are already kind of put to rest. And as we know here, maybe they're things that are kind of getting lost. I wouldn't be surprised if this is some kind of story keeper for the culture or community they're in. And I am supporting that. We have the quill, which tells me that they're probably writing things down. Maybe they're writing books to try to pass forward or letters. I see the scar, which tells me that it's not just things that they know about, it's things that directly happen to them and that they have suffered from and have the memory of because they have scars from the wounds. And I also see, this is actually in spirit, so maybe we'll come back to this, but the longing die is on movement or chaos or change. In their heart, they really, really need things to move and change, which tells me that maybe They're finally imparting secrets about what has happened that set the story into motion where we are now. And they're like, I have to get this out or it's all going to happen again. Up here in woe, we do have tin, which tells me that they need other things to make things come to fruition. And the lack of the other stuff they need is the really big problem for them in the story. In that case, I'd just be like, maybe this is our important quest giver's character for the story who's like, we need, the stone of the ages, and because we don't have it, we can't enact change, and this is the information you need to go get the stone. You could be a lot more relevant to today, just sort of being like, I'm realizing that I have no footing anymore, and like the world that I once was really important is I'm less important, and I need to get this information to people or they won't be able to do anything about how things are unfolding. Um, we also have metal in body, which tells me that they have maybe the right tools for doing particular tasks, but that's all they're able to do. Um, Based on the hairy journey that I started here, where they're trying to like write some kind of history for other people, I would say that maybe that's not their strong suit. And so they're really struggling to be heard because what they're used to doing is completely different. Because metal can be very rigid. You make a tool for a particular use. It can't be used in different ways, not easily. We have a part on the relations die, which is telling me that maybe they're a little separated from the people that they need to be talking to. They can't get them. Um, and then we have the store's face of the autumn die out here in summer, which tells me that things are being gathered for the near future. But for what? And especially with this character in a position where I feel like they don't have a lot of time. I wonder if things are gathering too slowly. We have the arcane on the influences die, which tells me that there are things outside of everyone that are kind of unknowable, that are affecting everything. This could be like the main conflict of the story is that things are going down a path that no one quite understands, but this character does, but is losing the knowledge of what that is, trying desperately to let people know before this becomes an unknowable enemy. We have the caterpillar with the sword and the heart. The heart is wielding the sword of the caterpillar. Um, Maybe this character's like previous partner is actually the one who's threatening the new understanding or the new world. Um, I keep thinking about this very fantasy, and I think it's just because your name is Fantastic Beast, but I'm thinking about fantasy books, I guess. I wouldn't be surprised if there was like someone in power who is older, who is using their knowledge of things that had happened before that the new generation doesn't know about to like literally hold a sword at the caterpillar. Sword, of course, is still the suit from tarot, so we're thinking about logic and knowledge potentially being used as a weapon here. We also have rays with the sun, which is telling me that maybe there are some things that are keeping people at peace and happy in the situation, but it's keeping them blind to what's really going on, and that needs to be torn down. We also on wheel have oppression as an obstacle, which is really unique. What is good about oppression? Maybe after we tear down the things that are distracting people and making them think everything's working out, oppression is realized, and that becomes a good thing because when they recognize that they are under some form of oppression, that's when they actually get freedom to do something about it. Until they know that it's happening, they can't do anything. We have the pie and sex here, and the hand that you are dealt over here, and how this character feels. It would suggest to me that they have very close, intimate, not necessarily literally sexual, but maybe connections with another person that are really, really good and positive. I wouldn't be surprised if the evil leader character that I have apparently made over here comes back around as really important and helpful to them. I'm curious about the hand over here. It's like about the hand that you're dealt and what you can accomplish with it. Um, I think about it a lot in this case as being very limited, right? Like you have 5 cards, and we have this knowledge here that something's deteriorating and that we're losing chances, which suggests maybe like they have 5 chances left. And I would then, if I was writing a story, I would like write down what their 5 chances were and try my best to make it so like on their last chance it finally works, or the last chance it doesn't, but then someone else comes along, which would represent, new life and a new hand, and then they carry the work and create it and solve it. So that was a full 22 dice reading on how I might make a character for a story. And actually, it ended up making a story itself, right? There was a whole narrative here beyond the character about a world that was under some kind of oppression and facing an enemy they didn't think they could understand. Yeah, the dice are great, and they're incredible intuitive tools if you are ready to make connections. Thea Quinn, can you do a reading for my work? Am I headed in the right direction with my business? I would love to do that, Thea. Let's grab some of these other dice, because we love other dice. How is labor going? Let's get these. This is a pretty good selection. I want one more thing. What do I want? I want you. Oh, go figure. It's the attentions die. I'm so selfish. I love the attentions die too much. All right, Thea, in your core, you have just a couple dice touching in. You have the 3, you have the train. The 3 is very good. It's very positive, but this is in your mind. So the main focus is in how you kind of feel about stuff, or how you're thinking about it more. Feeling is more spirit. So yeah, you've got some stuff going on here with disrepair and luck. You're very lucky, perhaps, or you are in some really good space where things are kind of working, but even though you're recognizing what things aren't working, right? You're like, ooh, okay, this part of the business maybe is working out, even though I'm recognizing the system that upholds that part isn't great, and maybe I need to adjust it and fix it some. Immediate advice and warning there, of course, is you do have to be careful, and the wood is right here, which talks about this a little more, but the resources that you're using to make your business function are things that you have to still actively take work to renew. And you have to be very careful, because if you let things keep going in disrepair because it keeps working out, when it eventually does break down, if you don't have a failsafe or a safety net of some kind, then it just doesn't work. And that's a problem. I do see the hole over here. The hole tells me there's some stuff relating to the business that you've kind of shoved into a hole and you're not thinking about anymore, and you just don't want to. I would take a break to just think about what that is and try to recognize what you're choosing to do, to really think about whether or not that's the right path forward. It looks like there's a little bit of a hope and a prayer, pushing things along. And so I would really do my best to face that and recognize what doesn't work out here. Because that's hiding something big, and that has to be reckoned with. I don't know what it is. It's very alone over there, but yeah, that's something that you would know about, and I do not. So we have the cocoon over here in body, which tells me that the work that you're doing maybe has slowed a bit. You feel like you're building towards something new and better, but I am not sure what you feel that is, because there's already things moving over here, and that makes me nervous. If things are working, even though not everything's quite properly set up for this, and then you're not also necessarily doing a lot of the work for it because you feel like you're building to something bigger and better of it, maybe it shouldn't be going already. I do have passing, which tells me that maybe you're letting one era kind of end for your business and you're kind of starting a new one, which is maybe why you feel like you don't have to be doing as much with what's currently there. But if it's still running, there's some disconnect here that needs to be looked at on what work you're doing to make it function. I do see the train from core to material, which is telling me that maybe you have some kind of momentum going with people outside yourself, and that's really helping and just kind of pushing something for you. With the roulette kind of in between these, I think that it's not a safe assumption that this thing will work for very long. You can't necessarily rely on luck to keep things going even when the systems aren't quite right. You can't necessarily rely on general momentum from people around you just being like, yeah, we're into this idea right now, because things come and go, especially fads and what people hop on the train for. Um, Over here, I do see the bow and arrow and celestial and your spirit, kind of your heart, how you're feeling about things. I see good goals, but I also see you like taking shots at those goals from very far out. I would spend a little bit less time thinking about like the far future and a lot more time focusing on immediate foundations for your business. Um, I think that would really, really help you if you could like take a pause and have a breather and be like, okay, what is actually present in my hands right now? What can I build that's a better foundation and system for how things are working now? Maybe spend a little less time thinking about like the cocoon and what's going to come when you emerge as the butterfly, because like things have to be set up for when you emerge as the butterfly for it to matter. Something's not being like faced up and reckoned here, and I think that whatever that is like a big logical hole for you that if you don't recognize it, everything here is working for you. But once you like reach into that dark hole and unearth the thing that is your big elephant in the room, um, it will really change like what your priorities are for the business. I'm feeling done with my corporate job, but uncertain what I can do instead. First steps and a timeline. Any guidance? Sure. Let's flip for that. And hello, Tarot Freak. Houston. I've been sharing on Instagram and Facebook. Excited to back the Oracle dice. Well, I appreciate you sharing. That means a lot. I don't share to Instagram, I think, enough, even though that's where I think I have the biggest following anymore because Twitter died. Okay. You want to change things. I'm going to grab the Housewives dice. I think that that's a good start. Let's just grab the keys, right? Peas Blossom. Let's take a look. All right, in the core, at the very center, we have loyalty to oaths. Then we have boundary over here, and we also have the ore over near faded. We'll start with oaths because it's smack dab in the middle. Peas Blossom, it sure looks to me like you are a person who heavily values your word, right? You heavily value the thing that you say you're going to do for people. So you are done with your corporate job. You'd like to be out, but uncertain what you can do instead. I think that one of the really important centers there of your question that's kind of unsaid to me is that you really, really value your oaths. Is one of the reasons that you feel like you're not sure what is next because you feel like you've really pledged your time to your job and you're not sure how to leave yet. Because I think that that's kind of a central thing here. One of the immediate advice things I just want to give is I feel that once you understand how to step out of that, like maybe pledge to yourself or your pledge to your corporate job, that maybe you'll understand a little better where your oaths kind of lie after that. Boundary here is kind of connecting to that. It's like it's time for you to draw boundary lines around like what your oaths are and like what they entail, what your promises maybe have been to yourself about what you want. Because once you have a better delineation of like what you have pledged to do in your life, maybe you'd have a immediate understanding of like what you want to accomplish after that. So like basically once you put words to things that you haven't put words to, do you then understand what you want? In the past, we have the aspic. This is the very past, which tells me that you were willing to go along with difficult tradition and rules that maybe you didn't necessarily even like or support, but you went along with it anyways because you felt like you had to, and everyone should. We have the injustice on the redacted die paired with the rising sun. There was kind of an everyday occurrence that went wrong, that maybe you've seen that kind of pushed you into a position of realizing that you don't want to be at your current job. I do see celebrate here, which suggests to me that maybe you've even done things at your corporate job that were like celebrated, supported, and you feel like it didn't matter. Maybe that's when you were like, things aren't right here. There's something incorrect going on in the day to day job space that makes me want out. And maybe like even things you were celebrated for made you feel worse about it because you didn't feel connected to it, or maybe you even felt like it was wrong. Um, and that could be like maybe, work somewhere that you have ethical concerns about, but it also could be that you work somewhere where you realize that the celebration of what you're doing there just is kind of meaningless to you, because it doesn't matter. And that makes it hard to actually be excited about what you're doing. In present, we have sins die, we have secrets. It definitely is maybe a little too unhelpfully on the nose to be like, there's secrets right now and you need to figure it out. But that's literally what's in present. It's the only thing in present. The thing about the secrets phase is like, it's not, there's things you don't know and you'll never know them. It's there's things you don't know and you gotta go ask. You gotta go figure it out. And I think that really connects back to the core here of, because boundaries kind of leaning towards the core. There's some delineation you need to do to understand what it was you pledged yourself to at your current job, to understand what things are still parts of you beyond that you really want to support or take part in. And that's all you got in present. So I guess we look to the future. We have personal progress way out here in the beyond, at the without. It tells me that there's personal social progress that you need to make with other people. There are connections you have to make with people who are really important in your life. If you have a partner or a spouse or children or close friends, you need to spend your time building your relationships with them and building your connections with them, because that's the stuff you need outside of your corporate job that's going to help you understand again who you are and what it is you want. Kind of on the verge here between future and faded, we have tells die with the oar face. And the oar is your sign that you have to go against the current and the breeze, right? You're in the boat, and you have to use the oar now. You have to start going against things to make things get somewhere new. It seems like maybe your life is set up in a streamlined sense that just feeds you into your current job. So what does your life look like if you go exactly against that? Where do you row to naturally? Maybe where do you head when you start thinking, I don't want to be at this corporate job? What is your first step that you take, and what's that in the direction of naturally? Faded. I see pain. We have lavender and the spider. It looks like kind of the ultimate outcome of following the path where you push away from there. You try to come to understand your own secrets, like what you do want. The kind of inevitable outcome is a space where there is pain and calm. That suggests to me that like you find a space of calm and good, openness with yourself, where you understand yourself better, but it doesn't come without cost, right? Getting there might mean giving up a lot of the things that you're used to. That could be financially, definitely, but it can also be giving up, the foundations and support structure that you've come to form through your job. Without them, maybe you realize there isn't quite as much left over. And the spider is telling me that there's, definitely a lot of room for you to focus on storytelling and your dreams and your subconscious, and that really pairs with lavender. I think there's a lot there where you become a lot more open to like what's going on maybe around you and in your social life and with yourself. But I think it really does leave you in a position where, it's not easy to do. So one of the big questions that I would have for you, and maybe advice of what to think about, is your new direction related to your job at all? Meaning, do you even need to think about your job? Is that the thing that's actually the problem? Or is the real issue that you want to change what's happening outside of your job, because the personal progress out here in future is like telling me that so much of what's going to change if you try to pursue a new job is trying to find like new purpose in life, and that doesn't have to be the job you work to get money. You could stay at the corporate job that you might not even like care as much about anymore, just go there for the paycheck and then actually explore things with other people. um, Anyways, you don't have to give up that job to do that. The financial stability actually might be really helpful for you to explore those things in, rather than giving it up and maybe going on a journey of finding a job that makes you happier but pays you a lot less, because it looks like there's definitely hardship on the way in following this goal. Now, this doesn't mean you can't quit the job. If you don't like it anymore, you can quit it. Just understand that it doesn't look like it's going to be as easy to make things work out without it. Now, I'm fully aware that I'm like being a hypocrite and saying all that while I'm a person who quit my day job to try to be a creative full time. But I will say it comes with the pain and hardship. It's definitely there. Financial stability is not overrated. It's underrated. Yeah. I think I have more questions, probably. B and W. Yeah, I have a silly question. What would be a fun way to use my recovery time? What would be a fun way for you to use your recovery time? Um, Random dice. Go. I feel like some of these I can't say out loud. Wow. Hey, B&W, do you have like a lot going on? I'm seeing like isolation, transaction, and the betrayer. And the hands that are exchanging money are literally between the betrayer and isolation. It seems like maybe it's time for you to like pay a little forward to the betrayal, which suggests to me that like it's leaning past. There's things that you've done in the past where you have really like maybe failed or betrayed others, or been betrayed, and in this space now where you have this isolation and time to think on things, it might be time to pay off that debt or that guilt, meaning to say like maybe this is a little time to do a little spring cleaning. Think about the things that have frustrated or made things difficult for you, and it's time to like pay that off and see if you can get rid of it, so it's not mental baggage that you're continuing to carry when you go back to being an active person. Hi, Zamilla. In the past, I see anxiety paired with a redacted or held back identity, and also puppet strings. They're not a proper triangle. I wouldn't read that as such. It looks like in the recent past, because we're very close to the edge here, you were in a position of being forced to maybe hide or protect some level of your identity that was a huge source of anxiety for you, by another person. But over here I see the compass on its own, which tells me that you were wayfinding during that time. You weren't necessarily just experiencing that. However, core leaning into the present here, we have whimsy in the syringe. I think in the nicest way, right? Because you currently are recovering from having your wisdom teeth removed. I'm assuming that you have some drugs from that. Whimsy and syringe. My first look when I looked down, I was like, don't whimsically do drugs. But then I was like, wait, you're doing pain meds right now to like take care of yourself. In the present, something that you can really do is just like have a nice, pleasant time recovering. Be a little whimsical in your time, meaning like if you're just laying around the house not doing much, do silly fun things. Watch a funny YouTube video. Watch a dumb comfort movie. Eat dumb foods that are fun. Assuming you have to eat non-solid foods, like make them fun things to eat. If you're gonna have ice cream for breakfast, this is the time to do it, I think. Over here in the future, Okay, I was like, that can't say defender. It doesn't. It says dependent. In the future, you're returning to a place where people are really dependent on you, and that's a big part of like what you choose to do with your time is support other people. Um, so definitely right now, like focus on you and what things you can do for yourself because no one's depending on you at the moment while you are recovering from mouth surgeries. So I think that's really nice. I also see the spider and I see copper, which tells me this is probably a really great time for you to think about storytelling. Which I don't know if you write stories. I don't know quite what that's about, but it seems like it's a great time for you to channel the energies around you and like think about stories that you want to tell. This could be literally writing a story of some kind while you've got this downtime. It could also be uh, thinking about the stories of your life so far and trying to gain new understandings to share with people. This comes back a lot to the isolation, betrayer, and the payment thing, where I think like when you put in the work now to think through some of the stuff that you've mentally put away in the attic, you might have new answers to bring to people in the near future that normally depend on you that you can give them that might either support them for a while so you don't have to do it, or maybe the answers are things that really free things up for others. I don't know. It seems like it's a really good worthwhile thing though to be thinking about stories in this moment and how people are relying on you because there's just a really good space for you for it. I also see storage, the store's face with the autumn dye between future and faded. This is just saying like this is a great time for you to just like reserve your energy, reserve things you want to share with people later. The isolation in the course really tell me this is a great time for you to spend with yourself. Maybe other people are always around you, or you always are expected to do things for other people. And this is just like the perfect time for you to just not worry about other people at all and just do inventory on you. Most definitely. Uh, Kelly Poplar. Kelly, is it Poplar or is it Poplar? I really want it to be Poplar. I don't know, something's fun there. It's just maybe it's because we just got a new pope. I'd like a reading about finding and getting a new home in a new city. Okay, we can do that. I love moving and new places. So yeah, let's go to a new place. Probably mostly in concept. I don't know if I want to move. um, moving, huh? Movement, resources, uh, majors, actions. Maybe what you should be feeling. Definitely this guy. What's a kindness? What's an obstacle? What do you want out of it? And what is the community aspect? Okay. It's Poplar. Yeah, that's fair. I'll call you Poplar in my mind. All right. Well, Kelly, here in the core, we have sheep, and we also have the heart pulling the large part away. It seems to me like a big part of what you want to do in finding a new home in a new city is that there's some element here that like a lot of your heart here has gone. Maybe someone has either passed away or someone already moved away or some important relationship maybe that you had ended. And that suggests to me, paired with the sheep, that like it was a really important thing that really helped supporting you. Um, of course, B&W. I hope that was helpful. It suggests to me that you are kind of the sheep in this scenario. There was some kind of relationship or situation that was set up. Maybe it is even a job that's gone. It's definitely something that was heavy in your life and really supported you and maintained you and helped keep your head on straight day to day. That's gone now. It's really like left. Um, It looks like a big part of your identity was kind of get lost there. Out in spring, I see reflection pretty prominent in your mind right now. You're thinking about like, who are you after this thing is gone? And that's really leaving you in a state of like, where can I go to be in a new space now? Which I'm assuming, is why we're on this question of how you find and get a new home in a new city. That's a lot of your thought process that's leading you here. Body, what you're actually doing to the world, I see stop, and it's the only thing, which tells me that what was lost probably had a really heavy connection to probably your job or your community, probably both, and so you feel like pretty disconnected suddenly. Um, Out here, we do have mending of wounds as kind of a theme for summer, which means that you definitely feel like you've been hurt, and the overall mood and prevailing feeling here is that things have to be healed. So, first thing to understand is like a big part of why you want to go somewhere new is going to be the main drive of like answering your question. Finding and getting a new home in a new city. Um, I think the first thing you have to recognize is like what you want out of it, right? Um, it looks like there is space for new things. I guess I'll just continue. It's fine. And without bridging summer and autumn, we have personal transformation. What you're doing in the world and how the world's affecting you is completely shifted and changing for you. And it's outside of yourself. So something you didn't have a lot of say in. It's probably not something you necessarily wanted. Um, because of that shift, I see peace over here in materials. Tell me that things are in a very like decent stopping and pausing point. Things aren't needing you at the moment. As an obstacle, though, that can usually mean like you don't know what you should be doing if the world doesn't ask anything of you. I do see truth over here in material, which tells me that maybe you're being eye opened a little bit to the truth of the material world. Right now, you're really seeing it in a very honest way. And I think that's actually really important. Being able to see what it is the world wants of you or what other relationships or other people in your life want of you is going to give you a lot of information about what it is you want out of a home. Um, Over here in winter, we have the fist and water. The fists tell me like you're probably taking a lot of action. You might be a little angry in your heart, holding a little bit of resentment. But on the edge of winter and that wheel here, like I said, was water. Water is really wonderful at being very formless and able to go into any spot. As far as your question itself, finding and getting a new home in a new city. Kelly, I think the number one thing, again, is like recognizing what you even want there. Um, what I see right now is a lot of focus on like how you've maybe been hurt by the situation ending, um, and the forced transformation from the world around you. You're seeing the world with new eyes, which is good. You might be getting to a point where you're starting to understand what it is you actually want. But I would be really hesitant about picking a new place just yet, unless you're going to recognize it's temporary. Um, I would definitely try to rent something instead of trying to buy, for example, because it seems like you are in a new space of finding out what fills all of this for you, what will fulfill you emotionally, what will be your new focus mentally, what will be the thing you actually doing bodily. Um, you have new eyes that you're like really seeing and understanding the world around you. But until you have a better understanding about where you want to be in that world, I would just be hesitant about doing that just yet. I think is kind of my takeaway. Yours could be different. Maybe you listened and you were like, "Oh, I really get it." But I don't see a thing yet about like what you want to try to do. My biggest worry is over here, like this longing for maybe like even a new identity could really mean that you put yourself in a new area, in a new city, in a new home that you think is going to support you to follow new endeavors. But after a while doing it, you realize it's not even what you really want to be doing. You just wanted to change. And so that'd be my worry. So I'd say like give it a little bit of time to really think about what your new relationship is to yourself and the world and what you want to do. And then you can maybe think about like where you want to be doing that. All right, my friends, we have 30 minutes before this stream ends and I get to eat lunch, which I'm looking forward to. I love lunch. It's my favorite time of day. I think eating is the best part of life. Um, Maybe that just says so much about me as a person, but man, I just love food. I love the concept of food. The food's the best. Yeah, so maybe I need a reading from one of you right now on what I'm eating for lunch. I think I have to make grilled cheese because I have that stuff and I just haven't actually done it. I don't have any soup to eat it with, so it feels a little silly to make some grilled cheese sandwiches and just eat those alone. Don't even have chips or anything. I'll think about it. But if someone has a tarot deck or oracle dice, if you have the second ed oracle dice and you want to do a reading for me right now in the chat and tell me what I should eat, I would appreciate it. Gosh. You know what I haven't checked? I haven't checked to see who, if anyone, actually got a hold of those add-ons and stuff that I put up at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. The pledge levels and add-ons that I put up. 2 people got the pledge level. Good for you. The add-ons, 4 people. Okay. So my clues aren't so obtuse yet. Though I think I did just tell people in the stream when that would be. Okay, maybe I need to do a fun clue that's a little more obvious for the key keepers so that people have a chance to get some cheap key keeper sets. What's a fun clue? Do people like riddles? Do people like math? Should I do math? The fun part, Kelly, is that because it's a live stream, you also can just rewatch the live stream whenever you want. It is going to be on my channel for however long live streams stay on your channel. I have live streams that have been up for like over a year, I think. I don't know if that's true. Maybe I just lied. Apocalypse Girl. I always suck at figuring out the clues. That's on me. Let's take a little look together, you know? So if I go to community and yeah, it was this one, right? Okay. So this was the previous Wanderer clue, right? It says seasons come and go, as is their nature. So seasons. One of our sets is a season set. So right here, the clue here is that this is about seasons set. Also, we can tell that it's in this kind of poemy format. So seasons come and go, as is their nature. Those 10 syllables. But I see it sooner than ever now. Those 10 more syllables. These matched, so we don't have anything sticking out yet. But also, it doesn't tell us anything. It just says it's soon, which is fair. That shifting, what day, when indeed we count? That shifting, what day, when indeed we count? That's 10. It says that we count. And it said what day. So right here, we should be able to assume that that is the 10th, right? It tells you to count. And again, but in what time we count. That is 9 for what time. And again, but in what time we count. Oh no, maybe I screwed up there. It is asking what time we count. That was 9. That means that it should be 9 a.m. Ever in the mountains we count our time. Ever in the mountains. Mountains is how we count our time. It's mountain time. Mountain Standard Time. And to come outside its time, we discount its inevitable coming. Um, this is just saying, hey, it'll be a discount. What? For the season set. Seasons is at the top. So I will join you here on a calm morn of rest. This is just reinforcing it will be morning, and it is a resting time of the weekend when I usually don't work. Gifts for those both unpledged and those promised. This is what tells you specifically that it is both a pledge tier and an add-on. It's a gift for both people who are unpledged, meaning that it's a pledge tier that they can pledge to, and promised. So if you've already pledged, you can still get it, meaning it's an add-on. That was my thought process there. Though I am like looking at this with narrow eyes. And again, but in what time we count? That's 9. I totally made it. I put it live at 8 a.m. I think in isn't supposed to be there. So I actually screwed up. I did it bad, but I did leave it up for like over an hour. So it was available at 9 a.m. So I didn't end up being wrong, but I did accidentally put an extra word. That's on me. Sorry, y'all. At least it was live at 9 a.m., so I didn't lie. But it did go live at 8 a.m. And it was discounted season sets. So I'll go look at what my clues were on the second edition set and see if I can mirror some of those. So if people want to go look at the old Wandering Tier clues, maybe they can get an idea of like what it necessarily meant. I also need to put out an update today. I was supposed to do one Friday, but my Friday was really busy, it turned out. I was a busy little creature. I did the morning stream, and then I went and climbed, and then I climbed for a long time on Friday, and then I came back and did the night stream. So I didn't get any updates for anything. Onion Night, I love that so much. As someone who got the add-on, I didn't get any of the syllable stuff. I just got that it would be a weekend morning, and I'm also an MST, so I was refreshing on the hour starting at 7 a.m. Okay, that's fair. I have a master's in poetry, so I was thinking it's poetry. You can count syllables, try to find moments where things shift. I think last time I did one of those, I did tell people they'd have to count syllables. So I gave a better clue to let people know they should count things. But I said count multiple times in this, so I was hoping that some people would catch on it. I do think last time, just because we had like a lot more backers, there were a lot more people trying to solve them. So I think that also helped. uh, oh well, I'll make the next clues have a little key that maybe suggest what you need to know. or I'll do the really silly cute ones. Yeah, fear and ramen, that really helped that I then talked about it in the stream. The clues are just for funsies, at least. So if you look at it and you're like, oh, this is just not for me, I'm not going to solve a clue, then you're just like, you just don't take part in that. It's not important. I'll never forget, though, in the second edition Oracle Dice, someone got mad at me. I counted the lines and thought it'd be at 9. Well, Onion, at least it was live at 9, even though I intended it to be 8. um, Yeah, people got mad at me last time I was doing these because they were like, "Oh, so if I don't solve the clue, I don't get a discount. So what? I'm not good enough. Like I won't. I don't want to have to take part in some dumb game. How do I just get the discount?" And it's like the whole point is supposed to be fun. Now I feel bad because I totally didn't read that as a poem. Half my friends write like that normally. That's fine too. It wasn't like an enlightened poem. I literally sat and just smashed it out like in 10 seconds while I was putting together the clue. I will also be super honest about it. Like my clues are not deeply thought. I'm not sitting here like I need to make the perfect clue. I'm like, what's a fun way to hint this to people today? And then I do that. So it's all good. I do love that you counted the lines and thought it'd be at 9, because that still ended up working in your favor, because it was live from 8 until like 10:30, I think. It was just kind of when I got around to closing it, because my alarm went off at 8, or it's like it went off at 7:45, and I like went in and made it live, and then just like put my phone down and like kind of passed out for a little bit, and then came back to, and I was like, oh, I should go take those down now. Yeah, so that was fun, you know. Yeah. So we got 20 minutes. Anyone have any other questions? I could go over the first wanderer too, whatever that one was. Um, Goodness gravy. This says wandering. Wait, this one's older. Wait, is it not sorting these by? Why are you like this? Yeah, this one's 6 days ago. Okay, whatever. Uh, yeah, someone was like, "What time zone are you in?" And I'm like, "I promise." And all of the clues I'm giving, I'm trying to give my time zone so that you don't have to wonder. Um, the first wanderer was like, "Something strange is coming this week. I'm a little unsure of what it is. I'm trying my best to hone in on it." Oh, yes, now I see it. Something old, something soft, something instructive, something that keeps peeking out in my videos. In one of the videos that's like talking about the um, mats and stuff, when every time that I lift this, it goes like, "Oop, the first edition mat is peeking out." Um, so these clues are like, there's something old, there's something soft and instructive, and for the dice, that would be, the reading grids, and then it's something that keeps peeking out in my videos. So if you watched them, I like put little text on the screen that was like, "Oh, the first edition map peeking out cameo." And it was like, I have a strange sense of, because I live in the mountains, and with the way time is moving, right? I have mountains and time capitalized, so it's like mountain time. There will be 14 and none hours to count. So 14. That's 2 p.m. But how? Why? Who? What? The one thing I didn't answer is when, right? Or didn't ask is when. The 5 questions: how, when, where, why, how. I guess I didn't say where, but why is missing. 7 is my name. I wonder why that matters. So when 7. So it was the 7th of May. I'm sorry I lost the trail, but I feel like it's not the main event, but an extra and fleeting, meaning that it is a temporary add-on. It's not the main event. It's not a pledge tier. It's an extra. So if people are struggling with my clues, I try to just. I'm trying to be clear, I promise. Even if it doesn't seem like it. Uh, I do have a reading request, Apocalypse Girl. The last 2 readings you did for me both included stuff about home being under attack or being lost. I'd be interested in a follow-up. B&W, weird piggybacking off of the last one I asked. What do people depend on me for? I feel like I'm a little confused. These are great things for you guys to do readings for yourselves. No, I'm joking. Um, okay. Why is your home under attack or being lost? Apocalypse Girl, these are big, important questions. What do we got? Anxiety. You're anxious. That's what's going on. You have anxiety, and on the other end of the core, you have inspiration on the goblin's die, which is telling me that you have material anxiety. Maybe I'm creating anxiety about your home. I'm sorry. I don't know. If readings keep telling you something, it usually means something, right? I see inspiration here, leaning in mind towards the weaver. I have 1. I have copper. Um, hmm. It's kind of a weird trio. In Weaver, you feel like maybe you're starting to get a little caught up in something that's going on. Um, maybe you're doing this. Maybe you're weaving too wide of a web here. The weaver is usually other people, though. So I'm thinking that you're probably getting caught up in things other people are doing and making right now. I'm curious of the struck inspiration. You have copper and the weaver. Huh. Well, now I'm all worried that I'm doing something bad here. um, okay, number one, focus on yourself. We have the one on the edge of within here. I see that you are struck by inspiration. There is copper. Like, you're being very receptive to information that's coming to you. The weaver is definitely telling me, like, maybe you feel like you're getting a little bit caught up in things that other people are telling you. I wouldn't be surprised if it's me. One of the, I think, downsides of getting multiple readings from someone is that you start like building this whole narrative and you start wondering what it all means, and it starts reaching beyond itself in big and kind of uncomfortable ways. You start buying into a narrative that you're not quite sure you understand yet. Um, so I usually try to be like, let's not do too many readings in a row if we can help it. But I'm also doing all these live streams where people keep coming to hang out, so I keep doing readings for you. So number one, focus on yourself. Focus on what you're doing. Spend a little bit less time being a lightning rod for information you're getting from other people, even if it's me. I think that it's a little too easy for you to view things given to you by other people as revelations, whereas the things that you come to understand for yourself are less important because they're coming from inside. Body, I see other, which is why I'm really leaning into this. It feels like you're kind of being watched over by other people. You're engaging in a relationship where other people kind of see over you, and as a result, you're taking their word as bigger law than maybe what you're accepting for yourself. The sword here also tells me that you are directing your logic and energy towards the outside, the material space where other people maybe are giving you things, and the main thing that maybe they're giving you here is anxiety and cocoon and a redacted explosion. You see a cocoon kind of waiting outside of you, and you're waiting for it to blossom. You're really looking outside of yourself to see what things are coming your way, and you're expecting it to be this big revelation. But it's not doing anything just yet. And the explosion out on its own is suggesting maybe that like some of the things that are happening outside of you are covering up and disappearing other things that maybe are important to you. So I would be very mindful of like where you're focusing your attention. There are maybe things that are being lost or not paid attention to because you're only looking to very particular things outside of yourself and giving maybe some of the power to others. I do have faith here on the edge of material and spirit, leaning towards wheel. It's telling me that a strong faith in the world outside of yourself is what you've relied on to kind of fulfill yourself emotionally. And I do have the goal here heading from spirit into core. There is maybe a desire here to more unabashedly be yourself and just say what you think and mean in ways that don't maybe leave space for other people. But you haven't been relying on that as much. You've really been open as a lightning rod to like things that approach you, and channeling energies are coming from outside. But there's definitely like a longing here for you to do a little more of your own walking forward. So one of the things that you could consider here as answering your actual question, the home being under attack or being lost, home doesn't have to be physical space. It can also be like something that's really, really personal for yourself, right? It could be your sense of identity. It could be your core, right? And I think that a big thing here is like you've really channeled a lot of space from outside, and you've become really anxious on what the outside world does to you and in your home. But you also feel like it's a source of inspiration and knowledge. So just be really, really hesitant in how much you keep bringing into your home, and consider what it would take for you to change your like internal home, your core, to be more about yourself and unabashedly true to you and who you are, rather than maybe what other people are needing or expecting of you. B&W. I think since I've already done a reading for you today, I'm going to do Alyssa's question just because I think we're probably about out of time. But if you are trusting and patient in me, maybe we can pick up a reading for you next time, either later tonight or Friday or whenever I'm live, because I could just be live at any time if I want. Haha, dice. Oh my gosh, that guy ran way away. Alyssa, no core. Minds. We have the jackpot. We also have go out into spring. Alyssa, you feel like you've really connected something big for yourself in your mind and your logic and understanding of the world. This is really positive, and it is kind of directing you out into the world mentally, which means that you feel like maybe you've come to understand something that's allowing you to connect mentally and logically with the world outside of you, and that's really good. It means that you're ready to take part in like some conversations about maybe difficult topics with other people around you, or you're ready to share what you understand about the world with other people. That's good. It looks positive. Tagging into woe a little bit here, but way off the mat, I see a fear of abandonment, kind of lost in summer. Suggests to me that it's something that's building right now, and in the near future you're going to be at a point where the things you do in the world are really focused on your worry that other people are going to be leaving. So it's already here, and I say it's already here, but not at the point that you're really, really worried and afraid of it just yet. um, because we have rejection kind of bridging material and body. And we also have the schooner, which is heavily focused on kind of a found family concept, or being in close proximity to a number of people for a while, where you are kind of forced to create this found family space. But that being right next to rejection tells me like maybe you've been really close with people physically, but a lot less emotionally lately. You're spending a lot of time with them, you're around them, but you feel like there's just not a connection. I do have the Queen of the Night over here on without, which is telling me that things are really, really come and go. Maybe you're missing events with people. People ask you last minute if you want to do a thing, and you're like, oh, I can't right now. And because it keeps being so fleeting, you're kind of lacking the ability to really connect in deeply. And that's probably going to build to the space of a feeling or fear of abandonment. I do have wheat out here in summer. Wheat is sustenance. It's also how you share space with people and share, food with people. Ruling out in summer on its own. It feels like maybe you're in a space where now's the time to break bread with others. Everyone's trying to really spend time with one another and share what they've made, whatever that is. In this case, I'm thinking it might literally be food. There's like food, dinners, and stuff that maybe you're missing out on. I'm not sure. But there's definitely the rejection element here, which makes me wonder whether or not you do attend, if you feel like maybe you're getting a little like pulled away from people. There's like barriers starting to grow up. You're not quite understanding what people are about, which is why it's really interesting that it feels like you've figured something out and you're ready to go out and like test it in the world. Maybe are you not connecting with people because you've come to understand something? Maybe. And material, we have the tenderizer, we have performance, we have redacted identity. Redacted identity, upholding performance, and the tenderizer. I think that you're maybe running into something where other people are holding back on something that's true about them. And as a result of that, they're performing for you, and it's kind of like hurting them. Something there is really important to note, that like there's some core identity element that's being repressed for you or the people, and as a result there's a lot of performance, but the performance is directly leading to just the tenderizer as the weapons die is like you're just experiencing like a pain that just keeps going, but it's general, and that will build up over time, become quite a problem. So whoever's performing here, whether it's you or other people, It's based on definitely a lie of trying to like hide some core part of you, and that's just not good or healthy. That's just gonna like keep building up pain and damage over time, and that rejection is a big part of this. So I feel like it might be other people who are keeping something from you, and until they feel ready to like share that with you, they're kind of hurting to spend time with you, and that's leading to the rejection because they don't want to do that anymore. But I'm wondering what it is that they're afraid to let you know. In spirit, we have sex. Um, it looks like you really, really are looking for physical connection. It doesn't literally have to be sex, but it does mean that it's intimate. Like it's close. It's close friendship, hugs, and whether or not there's romance is up to you. Whether or not there's sex is up to you. But like there's an important need physically for you to connect with other people that's not being met here. So to change that, it looks like you have some important thing right here that you've come to understand. It looks like sharing it's going to be really key with connecting with these people and letting them know that like they need to let go of this lie, whatever this is. The performance does have to end, because it's not a positive one. This one is tied directly to pain, and upholding it is only going to make it worse. So the fear of abandonment should probably be nipped in the bud. Gotta create a space that's open for these people to let you know what they need to let you know. Well, we have just a few minutes left, so I want to thank everyone for coming to say hi. The Goblins Oracle Dice are live right now on BackerKit, and in the description of this YouTube stream, you can actually go straight to the campaign page and purchase a set or two of the dice for yourself. There are two dice sets. There are the Season set and the Keykeeper set. All together, that's 44 unique dice that you can read together in any combination, as I have been doing just now. This is a lot. It's actually maybe too much. So if you feel like that is just too much for you to learn all at once, you can get just one of the sets. But as I have noted earlier in this stream, there is kind of limited funds on the project. So likely we will make sets for everyone who orders one, of course. But we won't have a lot of extra sets to sell afterwards. So if you think the dice seem neat and you want to get a set for yourself or both sets, now is your time to do it. We also have a pay over time option on BackerKit. So if you feel like you want to put in a big $150 or more order, but you can't pay it all at once, you can split it into 4 payments over 4 months. So now is the time. It really is. The dice will be available in the future if we ever remanufacture, which would be awesome. But if demand isn't there, there's no reason to do it. So give us demand. Back the project. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining me. That was the morning stream, and I will be on again in 4 hours' time for another 2-hour stream in the evening. So hopefully I will see some of you then. All right. Bye-bye for now. Have a lovely day, and I will see you later.